Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's XAUUSD webinar, Live Forex Market Review. My name is Duncan Cooper. Before we get into it, if everybody can read through the disclaimer. For those on our YouTube live stream, I cannot see your chat, but you're more than welcome to join us in the webinar and just use the link that I've given you there. And then you can talk to us. For those in the webinar, I've got the chat box open and the Q&A box open. You can talk to me either way. So I'll just give you a moment to read through the disclaimer before we get into things. All right, we'll move along now. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at XAUUSD. And I've been trading the Forex market now for almost 20 years, mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email is there on screen, duncan.cooper@acy.com. If you want to connect with me through the week, you can do that at the website, acy.com, go to the Market News tab or our YouTube channel, which is at XAUUSD Australia. And if you want to connect with me personally, my Linktree page is there. You can connect with me there. If you want to get access to the charts that I'm using for MT4, just contact Nathan.bray. His email's on screen there. For those in the webinar, I'll put his details in the chat. All right. Okay, first up, let's take a look at the news, what's left for the week. So at the moment, the market's been very much driven by the news. For the likes of the pound, to cover some ground this week, it's been up and down and up. So we did have, moving into Thursday on the midnight, the ISM service PMI data, which came in weaker than expected, which has driven pairs to the US dollar up. It's going to be interesting to see if we will move higher or that it's just a rally within last month's range, which we'll get to in a moment. All right, so coming up, nothing really left. It's worth noting today that it's 4th of July in the US. So once we get into what would be the New York session, things could be rather quiet. Tomorrow we got from Canada and US at 10:30 p.m. their unemployment data. More notably the US side here, average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, unemployment rate. That's what the market's going to be looking at. And, have we already moved up? And are we going to see a sell-off back down? We'll have to wait and see. I'll tell you why I think that may be an option as we get into the charts. All right, so let's get to the charts now. If you were with me on Tuesday, I was looking at the dollar index, this US dollar index code, and the chart's not moving. Apparently, that data is no longer functioning. The data is still there, but it's not functioning. You have to now use the futures contract in here, which is in this green section somewhere down here. Problem with that is there's not much data. I've myself worked out a workaround because I've imported the data on this dollar index chart that's now not working into that new contract. So I have a seamless kind of chart at the moment, but it's quite a difficult fix. That being said, I have been able to create myself a dollar index chart that is telling me something of importance. Now, just want to go to the weekly here. Whilst we're selling off at the moment, we have this weekly range, which is actually last month's range. So last month's candle from low to high. So what often happens is it was a bullish candle. So last month's candle's up. And then what will happen is at the start of the month or during the month, we'll retrace back inside the candle of the previous month, often to 79% level, and then reverse and end up with a month up. So whilst things look negative at the moment, we could well just be pulling back within the range of last month to put in the low of the month before then moving up to put in the high of the month. That's what I'm looking at the moment, and that would be the inverse on the pairs to the US dollar. So at the moment, we're pulling back to about 62% level on the daily of that range. You can see it here on the day chart. We've hit the 62. Now the job figures data could bring us lower into the 79% level, but it's worth understanding, like I was just saying, this is last month's candle. So are we coming down at the moment to put the low in of this month's candle before moving up? Now, of course, we could just keep going down and break this low. But if we don't break this low, I would anticipate that we're coming down to put in the low of this month to then move up to put in the high of the month later on in the month. Don't forget, we're only on the 4th day of the month. So I would watch 104.74 down to 104.42 here. Does this area this week over, as we get into the job figures and beyond, does this area offer support? And do we start to see price wanting to move back up? Because if we do, we're going to see the opposite on the pairs to the US dollar, okay? So we'll focus on this tonight because we've got the job figures on Friday. Have we been moving up the ranges with the pairs to the US dollar, searching for the high of the month to form before we move down to put in the low of the month? All right. S&P 500's moved to a fresh high. Now, this is where I said to watch on Tuesday. Daily chart support here. We're saying on the 4-hour chart, watch for another move down into this area. If it holds, look to see if price moves back up to the top. And we've broken out above to a fresh high. We're above last month's high just. This line here is last month's high. So trends remaining up. It's not in a great position at the moment now to get in because it's too high up. You'd want to drag a fib now from low to high and start to see what kind of retracement we can have. If it doesn't retrace, keep dragging the fib up. You want to be looking for retracement. So I did offer you a great opportunity in here. If you like to trade the indices, but of course we're not down at that level anymore. So you need to be patient and wait for a corrective pullback of some form. All right. Of course, if we do come back down into that area, it could once more offer support, but maybe we're moving away from the area now. All right, euro dollar. All right, so we can all see we're moving up this week. Now, I just want to know where. I need to go to I'm on my daily chart. Just want to know where the end. Okay, so that was last month's high, and that is the low of last month just here. So that is the range of the whole candle for last month. So what I'm suggesting is we're coming up within the range of last month to find the high for this month and then move down. Now, this would be the candle range. Now, I know the day chart trend is up here, but high time frame movements have been down. And we just got a little bit short of the 62 level today. So the question is, and there's some other areas of resistance here, notably this high here that we held at yesterday from back in time, 108.12. So just above the 108 level. So today we're just testing 108, and are we going to actually hold at 108 to move down? Now, we've got some more volatility to come at the moment tomorrow. So I'm really planning, where we might be, what could happen today and where we might be tomorrow as well. We could still move further up. We'll go to the 4-hour chart. Based on last month's high to low, if I had a perfect area to look at, it would be up here. Could we get a volatility move up tomorrow on the news to 108.62 to 108.84. There's an imbalance in here that got formed that hasn't been filled. So the market may want to fill this imbalance. We've already filled some of it, but some imbalance remains. All right. Or there's also another range that the market's trading in as well. Let me just bring this over here. This range here, just down to that low area there. And you can see yesterday we hit the 79% level, and that's that old dare chart high to the left. So there is a question that we've actually hit this 79% level and held. When we were here previously, we heavily dropped down from that area. So there is a question that we could have already topped out yesterday. So if we're engaging today, the question will be how close can we, or how further up can we move above 108? If we continually start to hold at 108, look for a tight entry to trade down from there. Tomorrow, do we get a volatility move up to the 79% level of the bigger range? So that's the bigger range up here. So at the moment, I'm just going to focus on what we know. We're in this range. Fate, that's 79% level. And let's drop it down to a 50-minute chart. And simply at the moment, we could be watching for failure at the figure. And we have obviously sold off from that level yesterday. Any movement up this way at the moment could just be a rally to turn over to move back down this way from the 108 level area. So with that in mind, I just want to know where the 79% level is of this movement down here. It's at 108.08. So I would definitely want to know if price got up to 108.08, up to 108.11, I will want to watch that area for failure today. And as well, we're at the 62% level here at the moment. So you could just be monitoring for some form of trend line break here. Do you want to get short on a failure at 108 to see if we can move down? Or do you want to see if we can retest the area that we failed at yesterday? Well, quite, we know we're very high up from yesterday's move. On these, this is the price action of yesterday. There are some imbalances in here that got formed. There's an imbalance here. All right. Imbalances are usually filled. So that's why I'm suggesting we down, coming up here to a high price for the day, to then come down and fill this area here. It's just a question of what's the trigger to get short. And have we actually finished here yet? Are we going to move up to the higher level? Okay, so you can monitor that, see where you get your trigger. Don't quite have a trend line break yet, but we may have before the end of the webinar. Euro yen. Now, these were the areas I was watching on Tuesday, and we just, we're barely pulling back at the moment. We have just stalled though. Go to the monthly chart. We're just stalling, squash it in, just ahead of this 1992 high, 174.74. Okay. We're very overextended. I'm just on a lot of these yen pairs at the moment. I'm just on the fence waiting for price action to actually create something that I like the look of. Weekly trends up, day trends up. We're very overextended here on this leg up. I'm not seeing a triggered shorts. I'm very aware that we're at a major high level order short. So it's not where I want to buy. I want to buy on a pullback, and we're not really having a pullback. So, in pullback territory at the moment, just on a 4-hour chart, there's a range here. Then, if you're prepared to be a buyer on a pullback at the moment, a good area would be 62.79% area here. You've got also support there at 173.59. Okay, so this zone here, that's if price can pull back as deep as that. I'm very aware we have a gap from Monday. Gaps are usually filled. So that's why I would be cautious getting long, but structurally at the moment, price action is still holding to an uptrend. So if you're prepared to still be a buyer on a yen pair at such high levels, then this would be the zone to watch. Euro pound. So this is actually failing in the area that I've been highlighting for a number of weeks. Might come up now to retest. So I'll be monitoring this range here. So I'm going to 4-hour chart. That's the range that we moved up within. Then we've moved down here. Just want to draw a fib across this whole range. If I was trading the euro, the euro pound, I'd be much happier looking for another test into this area. One of the weekly broker support levels at 84.83 is here. At the 62 level, 79% level at 84.88. So this area here, I would look to see if price can rally back up into there and then turn over. Now, price might not want to do what I want. I can see the 4-hour chart is moving down, lower top, lower bottom. It may not want to come back up and revisit that area. It may simply hold within this 4-hour downtrend structure. And you could look to the 79% level of that smaller range, which is at 84.72 to move down. Stop above there. But this is a major area, and this is a minor area. So it depends what the market wants to do. Of course, at that 84.72 level, you could drop down to a lower time frame and look for a lower time reversal, just to confirm. All right. All right, pound dollar. So this is my 4-hour chart. This is the high of last month to the low of last month. Just the day chart, just to show you. We've had quite a strong reversal from the low of last month on the US news. Of course, as well, we may have moved up a little bit more aggressively yesterday because we do have the election in the UK today. So orders may have been a little bit thinner as they wait to see what happens. They are forecasting that there's going to be a new government. So, but that is the high to low of last month. So are we coming up to put in the high of the month to then move down to put in the low of the month? And are we failing at the 62% level? To come down to put in the low of the month. Now with tomorrow's job figures, we may come up to the 79% level at 128.06 to 128.07. Okay. We'll just have to wait and see. So I would be looking to see if we have an intraday top out up here today. We have an imbalance formed yesterday where we will probably want to come back down and fill. There's actually a number of imbalances, but there's a lower one here. And then there is one here at the moment. All right, now we can still continue up at the moment. But what you need to understand is if we see some weakness here, we're probably coming down to fill these imbalances because that's what price does. So it is very high up in the most immediate move. All right, so on the 15-minute chart, like I was just showing you on the Eurodollar, sure, we can move up all day long. But we had a very large candle here. So we got driven up steeply and then the market couldn't hold it and it's eroded it all. And I'm getting a little bit of support from this imbalance here at the moment. But I would be looking at see how high we come back up within this drop. 62 level at the moment is holding. I always like the 79% level, but the 62 level is holding. Like I was saying on the Eurodollar, do we see at some point today a clear trend line break to the downside here? And are we going to be coming down to fill the imbalances that we've been forming through Tuesday, Wednesday, okay? And have we, is this actually the top of the week? All right. Pound yen, like the other yen pairs, is just keeps on plowing on. The monthly trend's up, weekly trend's up, daily trend. There's no pullback at the moment on these yen pairs, but they can't go on forever without pulling back. And when we're more than a dozen days up, it gets very difficult to keep buying, keep looking for, a setup to buy when at some point it's going to have a corrective move. Doesn't mean to say it's going to change the longer term position and trend, but we'll get a correction at some point. It won't keep going up. 4-hour range at the moment's here. 62.79% zones here. Again, it's very similar to the Euro Yen. There's an area of support down the 4-hour chart at 204.72. There's your high probability pullback range. 204.74 down to 204.36. That's what I would look to this area for support if you want to be a buyer. I'm not seeing anything to say sell, other than we're just going to maybe pull back. And I'm just assuming it's just a pullback at the moment. If structure changes to show a short, well, I'm going to have to see some more candlestick action to show that. I'm not seeing that at the moment. All right. Aussie yen's going to be similar. With the Aussie yen, we're just above this high at the moment. We're very high. There's another high over here. 109.54. That's the next area. Now, I'm still monitoring. I actually got short at this high, got to break even, then got stopped out. So I'm still monitoring to see if we false break this area, but at the moment we're above it. Trends are up, but whether that's a major high or will we at some point over the next few trading days false break? Just monitoring that at the moment. Weekly trends up, daily trends up. Again, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're in the 14th day. Some point, this is, I'd expect this. This was where we were holding and then we broke above. This is the area where if we get a correction, it's coming back to this area, which is, of course, a long way away at the moment. So it won't keep going up forever. And do you want to get caught buying at the top? That is what you have to be careful of. If you're prepared to buy, then monitor the range. 4-hour range. 62 levels at 107.71. The problem with this, looking for a buy in this area, it could still potentially work, is it would move back below the major high. And then in my mind, that would become a question of, are we failing at the high to move lower? So yes, price can pull back to this area and get support to move up. But really, if you want to be a buyer on this pair, I think the safer bet, safer mode of operation would be to look at this area, 107.86. That's the high we've moved above. Really, if we're going to keep moving higher for days and days and days. If we do pull back, this area should hold. This is where the buyer should now be defending to keep the uptrend moving. So if we don't hold here, I would then be looking for a move below, retest to move back down into this support area. Now we don't have that yet. All we're doing is just holding it very close to the high of the move at the moment. So I need to see at least a pullback to 107.85 to be a buyer. But does that hold if we do, want to move down? All right, now the Aussie, is it breaking out, or by the end of the week, will we fail? So see this area here, see these highs, this area here, where we, sold off and then it was struggling here, kept rejecting in this area. So these highs there, you'll see is where we traded into. All right. And we couldn't close above this high. We did close above the area that we've been holding against for weeks. So are we moving higher, or are we going to false break? There's a large imbalance here. I would suspect we're going to come back into this area here. We're going to at least come back down to here. These tops here could act as support. So move down into the 15-minute chart. We're having about a 79%, just short of a 79% rally here. All these pairs to the US dollar at the moment are looking like they've come up and are maybe turning over to the downside. What's that euro dollar doing? All right, just trying to break that trend line at the moment at the figure. Back to the Aussie. All right, we're getting possibly a trend line break there. Are we going to be moving down to fill the imbalance that we formed yesterday? And on this time frame, the imbalance takes us back to 66.79 where we started. Now, if you go back to the Aussie, let's just squash this in last week. Where is the imbalance? Who's here? Let me just to show you that these imbalances get filled. See this imbalance here came up. Now this is slightly different price action, but we came down, rallied. That's about a 62 rally, and then came back down to fill the whole imbalance. All right. Another example here, we had an imbalance here. We came all the way back down to fill the imbalance. Like clockwork there. All right. So I would anticipate maybe we're going to come back down into this area. Okay. Now, of course, we can still move higher and haven't got this high, but I think we will come back down to 66.79. The only thing that will stop it is 66.98. There's a level of broken resistance there and the figure. So intraday New York, we did get support at 67. So we could, levels to watch is doing it. If we break down here, levels to watch are, do we come down and get support at 67? If that doesn't hold, then we're probably coming down to 66.79. So you can certainly look for a buy opportunity here. Do we come down to 67 and hold? Can you see some form of trend line break maybe to back up to the upside? But be aware of this imbalance here. We're probably going to fill it. All right, New Zealand yen. All right. I think this hadn't quite got down here on Tuesday. This was the area I was watching on Tuesday. You can see it came down into support, 79%. And now we're at 127 extension. So price action here. We're now holding above the major monthly top. We've moved up. We now want to look for the next decline. And you're looking in this area for your buy. So we need a pullback. So get your fib. This is my 4-hour chart. Across there, I actually just want to know where price is in relation to the higher time frame. I know this area just there is that monthly area. The monthly area here. I just want to know what. Just want to refresh my memory. So my data tells me at the moment there's nothing there. Now there could be something there, but my data doesn't go back beyond 1988. So all trends are up, monthly's up, weekly's up, days up. We're just very high. So it is worth noting over the next week, like I was saying on the Aussie yen, this 97.75, if we break back below 97.75, then we could be dealing with a false break at that major high. But at the moment, it has been support, but support could get withdrawn. See through here, we're kind of not wanting to move above. Then we moved above, pull back for support to move higher. So now we want to be looking at a pullback again to move higher. So 62.79% zone would be the good area to watch for support to move higher. All right, can we now move down? Get support to move higher. If we don't find support in this zone and we move below 97.75, then we could, start topping out, but we'll have to wait and see. We don't have that at the moment. New Zealand dollars moving back up within last week's range. That's last week's high. We did put in a new low for this week, but with the news of yesterday, we popped up to the 79% level. So assuming we can't take out the high of last week, this may already be like the other pairs starting to head down, is great if this could come, if you're not already short, if it comes back up to 61.19, that will be a great area to short at, stop above above last week's high. Move to the 15. So we've dropped down to here. Is this rally mode to turn over? All these pairs to dollar kind of holding at the 62% level at the moment of those movements back up. Again, as well, we have an imbalanced area here. On the 4-hour chart, the imbalance will be there. Let me just double check. It's a bit higher up on the 4-hour, but on the 15, it's a bit lower. So I would anticipate the price is going to come into this, back to fill this area, and longer term, we're moving back down to test the low here at the moment. So course, all these pairs of the US dollar are looking exactly the same intraday at the moment. Or are they topping our intraday at the moment for a move down after yesterday's move up? You don't want to be trading them all because they're all highly correlated. They're all telling the same thing. They're all saying, are we rolling over? You don't want to trade all, what is it, 4 of them, and then be wrong on all 4. Of course, we never know if we're going to be right or wrong when we're looking for a trading opportunity, but you don't want to be trading 4 correlated pairs all at the same time. What's that euro dollar doing? Okay, it's moving down. What's the pound doing? It's doing the same thing, moving down. All right. So that's my thoughts on New Zealand dollar, same as the other pairs. Dollar Canadian, it's right back down to almost down to last month's low. My 4-hour today chart, that's last month's high, last month's low. I just want to double check on my 4-hour. Last month's low is here. Last month's high is there. All right, that was last month's low, last month's high. This is a major area of support, 36.13, which we got a fraction short of last week and then went all the way back up to resistance. Now we're back down support. You see all the support here. Is support going to hold? We drag this fib down to there. You can see there's a 79% level as well, but that's last month's range. Are we going to stay within last month's range? Are we going to create a little bit of a double bottom down here? You could simply be watching the 4-hour chart at the moment. Do we present a rejection down here? In fact, assuming we're not going to take out this 4-hour candle low and this 4-hour candle low, and you just want a very simplistic way of getting in, you could wait for a break of that candlestick high for your trigger. Stop goes below, just below here. And you're looking for a 4-hour reversal back up the range, back up to where it came from. All right. So very range bound dollar Canadian is the range going to hold to move back up. Dollar franc. So that's how I had drawn on Tuesday. It did come into the area that I was saying should be support, but I would have needed to adjust my fib to there. So I came into the 6.2 level and support. That is weekly support. And bounced off. Price action in here is not very nice on the 4-hour chart. But dollar franc will probably not go too far today, maybe, with the holiday. But I would watch for 89.91 to remain a support. So on your 15-minute chart, we did have a spike up. I think we had the CPI data from Swiss earlier, from memory. CPI came in slightly lower, so that was US dollar positive. Came up, back down. Now what we might, I would much prefer to look at the major level here to see whether we can once more come down, because that's obviously a lower price. But you can see 90 is support on the 15-minute chart here. And we've obviously moved up with that information on the news. Are we going to be holding at this 79% level to move back up? I'm going to be risking much. Buy now, stop below this low here. Or you could just go, maybe even if you went 10 pips below the low here, so you're below 90, you wouldn't be risking more than 20 pips to see if we're going to be trading back up the range. Okay, dollar yen. Now on the day chart, we had an outside up day. We're not coming back to the monthly major high that we broke above at 160.33 at the moment. That would be my preferred area of support. It's proved to be support as once we moved above here on the 4-hour chart, but we're not getting down there. And as the day's candle yesterday was very bullish in line with the trend, then I would look at the range of yesterday's candle. Go to the 15. We're at the 62% of the range. We've already spiked down into the 62. So I think, there's the candle. So as we're getting into the lower depths of the candle, potentially support's going to come into market here. We are well maybe finding support at the 62 level to move up, which is the inverse of what we're seeing on the other pairs to the US dollar. All right, trend line's a bit acute there, but if we break above that swing point, that's going to turn the 50-minute trend to up here. Break above here, you get a very tight entry. Break above there is your trigger for a long. Stop below there. Are we moving back up the range? All right, just finished with gold. Still rather choppy. Support remains where I've been discussing down here. This is the 4-hour chart at 22.95. At the moment, we're coming back up to where we moved back, that's where we moved down from to come to support. Now, we could just stay rather range bound at the moment. It's rather choppy in here. We could simply come back up to 23.68. You can see here. Logically, why we might hold there to move back down to support. Okay. If we can't break it, if we don't start to want to commit above, then you need to look for the opportunity to sell. So that's that level there. $23.64.17. We've already hit it. So I would see how high we can come up. The bias is to short at 23.64 or close to. Look for a reversal up here, back down the range, back down to support. To get long, we've just filled this imbalance here, so we're right at an area where we can potentially hold at to move down. If we're going higher, we need a break here. This area needs to become support. We don't have that at the moment, so at the moment, I would assume that maybe the top of that range is going to hold to move back down, or at least whether we move all the way back down the range. If you're more bullish, we had some kind of consolidation here and then a break higher, so you could monitor this range. Let's get rid of that and look for a movement back into this zone. That high there could be support at 62 level at 23.36. So looking for, we've obviously moved up, but we're now at resistance. Does the bullish nature hold to pull back, hold, and break through? So if you're a bullish gold, you don't want to be buying here because we're at resistance. There's a high chance here that we're going to at least move down to here before moving up. Okay, that's my thoughts on gold. All right, so market's a little bit difficult at the moment. It's absorbing yesterday's poor US dollar. And of course, we've got more data tomorrow. And it's the 4th of July where the US won't be trading, really. So, game of patience. It is looking, euro dollar. Is it still moving down? It's at least holding at 108. Aussie is not in the greatest area here to short because you're shorting support there at 67.14. So whilst that may, could be a trigger to get short, it's not the, when you're looking at a pair to trade, you have to understand where you're at in terms of support and resistance, and that's not the best area. I mean, it's highly possible we're going to come and fill this area at some point over the next couple of trading days, but I wouldn't want to sell straight into 67.14. Be a lot happier selling up here. We came into this area and held, then I could sell, get my trade to break even for a test of 67.14 as we move back down. All right, I'll leave you with that thought. Okay, so a bit difficult at the moment as we're waiting for more news tomorrow, and the 4th of July holiday is in play, or almost. If it's going to be quiet because of the holiday, usually the best thing I do is do nothing. And it's a little bit difficult after yesterday's massive rush up and then a holiday coming in. But you'll have to make your own decision. But I do think we have imbalances formed yesterday. Just going to go to the 4-hour chart here on this pair. There's an imbalance here at the moment on the euro. So at some point, the market will be coming back into that zone, potentially. Could just move back into that zone before then moving back up again. But we did hit a nice area of failure yesterday. So the question is, have we put in the top for the week? We'll have to wait and see. All right, I'll leave it at that. If you want to join me next week, just head over to the webinar page. There's the webinar link. The next webinar coming up from me will be next Tuesday, more analysis at 7 p.m. Sydney time. If you want to join me, just register your interest and I'll see you then. I'm also doing webinars on the 10th, doing the double tops and bottoms, and more analysis on Thursday. Okay, so if you want to join me, just head over to the webinar page and register your interest. I look forward to seeing you then. Other than that, have a great rest of the week and look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody.